happened again. Take it off.
Ben, where's your dancing?
Where's your dancing, Ben?
Come on, Ben.
That's all you're
Ben
getting out of
Smith
me.
is back. That's right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 1 of season 5 of the Profit Power Hour. I am very excited to kick off this season with you guys and excited for our topic today, which is inside the sales and marketing conversations, shaping property management growth. And yes, by the end of this webinar, it will be like you have a gun in your hand that shoots dollar bills, and you'll just be able to make it rain wherever you are doing whatever you're doing. So that is a guarantee that Ben Smith has given to all of us. So my name is Brad Johnson. I am the CEO of Profit Coach, and I have the privilege of being your host of the Profit Power Hour, and am excited very much for today. If you don't know, Profit Coach is a company that helps property management company owners and operators build highly profitable, self-managing companies. And of course, part of building a self-managing company, part of building a highly profitable company is having a sales and marketing engine that can consistently drive in new business. Before we move on to the introduction of our panelists, I must show you a very cute picture of my family taken from the Christmas time. Those are my 3 little ones, David, Barrett, and Emma, that I do all this for. And if you hear some screaming in the background, it's probably one of the 3 of them. But they have told me that they are going to be on their best behavior during our hour today. All right. Kristen Lopez, co-founder of PathBuilders. She's one of our panelists today of Kristen and Candace fame. You will hear more from her and about her in just a moment. And then, of course, Ben Smith is here, formerly of Profit Coach, founder of BrightReach Sales. Super excited to have Ben on today as well. And then arriving fashionably late due to an unforeseen scheduling conflict, we have the Jordan Muela, founder of Lead Simple, one of the original co-founders of this company, Profit Coach, is doing his own thing these days, but he's going to come through and give his take on this topic, sales and marketing conversations shaping property management growth. Okay, before we get going, ground rules, questions. If you have any questions that you want to ask the panelists or ask to the whole group, please put those in the Q&A box. You can also obviously throw stuff in chat. We usually have a lively chat here at the Profit Power Hour, so please put your thoughts in the chat. But yeah, you can use the Q&A box if you like as well. And then let's talk about our agenda before we kick it off. So there's 3 things that I really want to cover today. And a lot of this is just based on what I'm hearing, what the conversation is, where people are finding some confusion. And we don't often have a topic come up and do kind of something in a very similar vein this close together. We did a sales and marketing conversation in November. It was highly actionable. I thought it was really good. It was mostly about sales leadership. But we're doing another one in January because this is the most common thing that our clients are bringing up right now and that I'm hearing in the industry as well. So I thought it would be really helpful to bring in people who are on the ground coaching and consulting property management company owners on sales and marketing, and people who all have experiences as property managers as well. So the agenda, so sources, methods, and sales behaviors that build trust and close the right clients. We're going to talk a good bit today about the right clients, but I also want to make sure you get some tactical on, well, how? What do I do? What do I say? What does the conversation look like? Okay. How to identify your ideal client, understand the difference between accidental owners or accidental landlords, as they've historically been called, and intentional investors. There's a difference between those. How you sell to them might be a little different. We'll see what our panelists have to say. And of course, aligning growth with your goals. We don't advocate for growth for the sake of growth. Door count can be a vanity metric. We want to avoid that. We want to make sure that we're getting the right door count and the right growth for the company that you specifically want to build. And then this question, it pops up. This is like a LinkedIn hot take question, but I think it'd be interesting to have a little bit more nuanced of a conversation. When sales should live with the CEO or owner, founder, operator, whatever you want to call that person, or a BDM, or a mix of both, as I've seen as well. And then in that conversation, no matter what you choose, how do you ensure that the owner doesn't become the bottleneck to the growth of the company? Okay, that's a very common issue. Yes, I'm sure you have some hot takes on number 3. Lots of people will. So we will make sure we get to it. All right, without further ado, just kidding, one more thing. Gonna throw a poll up right here, okay? I want to know what your portfolio looks like right now. So who's in the room? What type of client makes up the majority of your portfolio right now? Accidental owners, accidental landlords, intentional investors, roughly 50-50, or I'm not really sure. Okay, so while you're filling out that poll, which should be very interesting because this is all over the map in my view, I am going to turn this over to Kristen and Ben to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about who they are. Kristen, let's start with you. Ladies first, always.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Kristen Lopez, and I am co-founder of PM PathBuilders. At PM PathBuilders, we help you to grow and scale your property management company. Specifically, what I do within the company is I work on the sales side. So my specialty is improvement of conversion rate. So really taking somebody from an 18% conversion to hopefully close to 40%, that is my jam. And we do that through process improvement and one-on-one coaching. So those are my specialties and really where I just have so much fun doing work.
That's awesome. Awesome. Okay, thank you for that. Ben.
All right. Well, it's great to be here. Great to be back on the Profit Power Hour. Ben Smith, as you can see, I've been in the industry since 2018 when I started as a salesperson with a little company called Filter Easy, which you likely know now as Second Nature, and have worked with a couple different companies, including Profit Coach. And in March of last year, went out to start BrightReach Sales, really working one-on-one with companies to help get clarity around sales strategy, putting process in place, identifying who we want to work with, what value we provide to them, how we help, and ultimately building the foundation that I think it takes to really grow a property management company. So it's great to be here.
Awesome. Yes. And by the way, if you saw on their slides where you can find these folks, pmpathbuilders.com for Kristen, brightreachsales.com for Ben, and where you can find them both is live and in person in Nashville, Tennessee on a new date. Ben, take it away.
Yeah, so for those, many of you may be aware, for those that aren't, Kristen and I have spent the last 8 months planning this thing called Elevate Sales Kickoff. And it was supposed to take place this week in Nashville, Tennessee.
Right now.
Yeah,
Right
literally,
now.
Kristen is sitting in Nashville, Tennessee. Unfortunately, if you've paid attention to the weather, particularly Nashville, got hit with a pretty bad storm.
There's a bit of ice. There's a bit of ice out there.
Just a little bit, a few trees down. Ultimately, us, along with the venue, made the decision to postpone the event so that everyone was able to stay safe. Really glad we made that call. And we're announcing here March 16th to the 18th is the rescheduled Elevate Sales Kickoff. And we are gonna open up some more tickets. So if you scan that QR code or go to elevatesaleskickoff.com, there's information about getting tickets and the event as well. I particularly am excited that this now crosses over with St. Patrick's Day. We have a scavenger hunt themed St. Patrick's Day themed scavenger hunt taking place that Tuesday, the 17th, which for those of you that have been to Broadway in Nashville, I'd imagine St. Patrick's Day is going to be quite the time to be wandering around there. So
that is going to be green.
Yeah,
that's
green. Something. And you already had the green theme going.
Yeah, it's just meant to be.
Our favorite color here. So
perfect. It works well for all of us on all fronts.
Yes. This works great. So yes, thank you for that. I will be there. I can make those dates. I am pumped about it. Scan the QR code there for more info. All right, let's jump into it. Let's give the people what they want. Poll results. I'm ending this poll. I'm sharing this poll. As I said, it is a pretty even distribution between I mostly serve this kind of client, I mostly serve this kind of client, and I am roughly 50-50 between all of those. So 92 of you responded. Thank you for that. Always hard to tell exactly how many people are here because of the bots. So we're around 100. You can leave your bot. Your note taker is fine. They're welcome here. But good to see we got about 100 of you today. So let's get into it. I'm going to put this poll out as we answer this question. I want to know, what type of client do you want more of this year? So you've said who you have, and then I'm really interested in now in this, you've accumulated all of those clients mostly over the last, I don't know, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. What are you looking for now? And has that changed at all? So I'd be curious for you to throw in chat as well if it's really changed. If you're like, I have this client, I want this client, or I see a comeback happening with this type of client, so I'm going after them. So which client do you want? We'll leave that open for a while. After our first section, I'll let you know the results of that. Okay, so first, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I feel like I'm going to know the answer to this. And what Chase put into the chat there is what I think most people want. That's but really do they exist is the question, right? Are they here?
Yeah. Yes.
Can we find them?
Yes, maybe a little qualifier there. This person does have to exist. So
yes,
when we think about who we want to have. So what sources and methods, sales behaviors are building trust and closing the right clients right now? I want to start with sources. I want to start with lead gen. So where are you seeing the highest quality leads come from right now? Kristen, I want to start with you. As you work with your clients, as you survey the landscape, where are the good leads coming from?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the first best lead source that are coming in converting at the highest rates are the ones that we're sourcing ourselves. So referrals coming in from partners, from real estate agents, those are the best if we're going to quantify them in that way. The people that have put in the work to build the relationships in the past are seeing a higher conversion now with that lead source coming in referrals. And second best to that, the ones that come in directly through your website, the people that are seeking you out, the people that are coming to you. I would say that those are probably the highest quality of leads that I'm seeing come in right now. Ben, what about you? What would you add to that?
No, I think that's spot on, right? Whether it's referral partners like realtors, brokers, mortgage folks, attorneys, right? The people that are also interacting with your ideal client. That's a great source, as well as your current client base, right? Especially if you're working with intentional investors, those folks, they tend to hang around each other. And so if you're working with someone and they've had a good experience, in all likelihood, they know other people who are of the same mind and have the same goals and approach. So I think as far as quality goes, I think that is definitely they're going to be the most qualified. They're going to have the highest level of trust in you already. They're not likely out price shopping the same way someone who's just doing a Google search is. So yeah, would definitely echo Kristen.
Mm-hmm. And how are folks finding these people? I mean, maybe if you have an out of the box example, or you have some sort of like a story or testimonial from somebody recently who tried something a little different, your answers they're good answers, and I'm sure they're correct answers. They're not super surprising. So let's go a little layer deeper. Like, what's the how to get those people?
Absolutely. So I'll jump in first. Sorry, Ben. I know you're drinking water. I knew you were going to do that. But I saw one of the clients that I work with on here, Ariel Davis. I saw her pop into the chat there, and she is probably the best example of this. Last year, she started calling agents in Chicago. So she's in Chicago. Calling is her thing. And she spent last year calling hundreds of real estate agents and then developed partnerships with a select few of them. I would say maybe we have 4 or 5 really strong partnerships coming into this year. So the tactical of how to do that is you've got to pick up the phone, or you've got to go out and see people. Like, that is the tactical of building the relationships, and it takes time, right? The most common thing that I see, especially with building relationships, is we want to go to ChatGPT and create like 15 emails that we can send out. And that's great. But the best way to connect with people is by being a person, right? And I think that that goes into just connecting with leads in general, is showing up as a human being here and putting in the work to do it. I think that for this specific here, if you want good quality leads, you've got to have a good quality prospecting process, and it can't be automated. I've not found a great way to replace that human element and that human tactical of going out and creating the relationships. But that is the key piece there. And I would say success story to where now we're seeing, 2-3 referrals come in every single month from these agents here because the relationships have been established there. So it's easy to say, yeah, agents, lawyers, but you've got to find people that you actually connect with and that you vibe with. So whenever that opportunity comes up, they're the first person that you think of. It is not like a throw whatever at the wall and see what sticks, this mass approach. It's targeted, it's simple, like just going out and chatting with people. I would say that's probably a success story from that piece there of this quality lead that's coming in. It's because she has quality relationships with these folks.
Yeah, that's good. And one of the things that I think you hinted at that I'd love for you to just verify or expound upon is the lead time from making contact to getting the referral and getting them to call you and say, okay, I'm ready. That can be months.
Correct.
Years. But
Absolutely.
the key is when it's time, you're the name, you're the phone number, you stayed in front of them, they call you when they're ready. That
is
pretty accurate?
100%, because it's time and investing into those relationships. And it may be the same month, it may be the same week, and it may be a year later. We don't know. There is no magic formula of call 1,000 people and 100 of them will send you referrals. It doesn't work that way. And so I think that really the quality and the time that you're willing to invest in the relationships is going to directly correlate to the quality and the quantity of leads that you're receiving back from referral sources.
Yeah. Makes sense. Ben, how about you?
Yeah, I think the reality is everybody's looking for kind of a copy paste approach, right? Like Kristen kind of pointed out, create a nice looking email script that you're going to blast out to hundreds or thousands of people and just see what comes back. I'll answer the question a little bit more from working with your current clients to get referrals. I think Kristen covered working with brokers really well. I'll give an example of this that I'm actually working through with a client right now, which is, I think most people have this fear of asking current clients for business because deep down they're secretly afraid that their clients are unhappy with them,
Yes.
right? Like, oh, if I ask this person for a referral, they're actually just going to come back and say, well, I don't think you're doing a very good job. And so I don't.
100%.
So I think a great way to think about this would be, first of all, from your own client experience standpoint, right? What touch points do you have with the folks already working with you? And is it proactive or reactive, right? Because in this business, especially, people are apprehensive to hear from their property manager because usually it's bad news, right? It's, hey, there's a maintenance issue or there's an issue with the tenant or something like that. And so one of the things we're doing is actually building out a more proactive outreach strategy to our customers that doesn't start with asking them for a referral. It actually starts checking in to see how they're doing, talking to them about the performance of their property in 2025. And just making sure that they're having a good experience, right? And so when you approach it that way, two things happen. One, it validates for the piece of you that says, I'm not sure my clients like me. It gives you the opportunity to get the feedback that no, they actually do appreciate the work that you're doing. And two, if they don't, or if they're having an issue, gives you a head start on reducing potential churn down the road, because there may be an issue that your client is having or has had recently that didn't rise to the level of them reaching out to you about. It just kind of irritated them a little bit. And so you're giving them the opportunity to share that feedback. If it is something that you can control, that you can fix, you have the opportunity to do that, create a better experience for them, and then say, hey, look, I really enjoyed working with you. We're looking to grow our business and work with more people like you. is there anyone that comes to mind, right? And asking that really specifically, because the other thing I see people do all the time is like this kind of throwaway, hey, if you know anybody else who owns rental properties in Wake County, North Carolina, let me know. It's not specific enough. It's we all would respond to that the same way, which is to say, oh yeah, if I think anybody, I'll let you know. And
I'll
that's
keep my eyes out, keep my
that's not
ears
what
open.
we're after. Yeah, that's not what we're after. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's a little bit further down the actionable path for you.
I
And
think I think that's no, sorry, go ahead, Kristen.
I was just going to say, I think that something that, and I don't mean to speak for you, Ben, but something that we see especially is, yes, people want like the fast, and there are these lead generation companies, and their job is to tell you that they're going to generate you a lot of leads. But like when I was a BDM and we are working on inbound leads coming in, it's hit or miss, right? There is no control over that. We cannot control how many people are going to go look up your website. You can't control how much traffic you're going to get, and neither can that lead gen company, right? Their promises based on hopes, right? Like, hey, I promise. And they're like, I hope that people click on your stuff, right? But what we're talking about, and to get the highest quality leads, is by putting in that work of your control lever to be able to create something that is controllable. You can control how many people you reach out to. You can control what process and what experience your clients get to be able to give you those referrals. And so I think that the highest quality comes from things that we can control and things that we can implement that play to our strengths there.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's really good. And just one comment of maybe how I would add to what Ben said, which is if you are consistently surveying your owners and consistently understanding how they feel about you and their willingness to refer you, if someone gives you a 9 or a 10 on an NPS survey, you can know for sure that when you call them, A, they're not going to fire you, and B, they're going to respond positively to a referral request because they have already told you that they are highly likely to refer you to someone else. Your job is to put yourself in front of them and to say, as an example, people like this, hey, Mr. This is an actual example. Hey, Jason, you're an attorney. When I ran a PM company, there was an attorney who had, I think, 16 properties. You're an attorney. You've got properties. Do any of your attorney friends? I know you guys hang out. I know you guys, guys at the office, ladies at the office, or these networking groups for attorneys. Do they have rental properties too? Oh yeah, they have rental properties. Great. Has anybody complained about how much it sucks to self-manage lately? Or has anybody talked about, their property not being well taken care of? Oh yeah, well, I overheard somebody say last time we had a hurricane, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, great. Can you send me their phone number? And all of a sudden you're starting to have some serious conversations about people who are actually qualified and probably have some degree of buying intent because of some pain point. So you can get far down the line quickly by starting with uh, client retention strategies that lead to business development strategies.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good way to summarize it for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, we do the same thing at Profit Coach. Like every time if you've ever met with us, you know this. After every Zoom call with us, you get prompted for an NPS survey. And if you give us a 9 or a 10, we want to have a conversation about, okay, that's awesome. Like who would you refer us to? Who comes to mind? So you can do a lot with that. So, all right, I want to move into the slightly more tactical here, although that got pretty tactical. The conversation. So when PMs are having conversations in sales, how do you build trust? How do you turn the right leads into long-term clients? Let's move down the funnel. Let's assume that you've had some of those conversations. The referral has come through. Somebody says, hey, my friend over here, they told me that you do a great job. I've got a couple properties. I'd love to talk to you. How do you approach the conversation? What are the best practices to really go from person who has a generally favorable view to I have to work with this person? Either one of you, go for it.
I'll start on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think this is I love this question. This is something that Kristen and I had talked a ton about, which is the discovery process when you're talking to a potential owner or potential new client. And I think really the way that that I would summarize how you ought to approach this is really just starting from a place of trying to understand the person that you're talking to, what they value, what their challenges are, where they want to get to, right? I think in a really more and more our world is transactional, right? And you've likely experienced this. Lead comes to you. What do they ask you? What's your pricing, right? Like those sorts of questions, very transactional. I think the reality is even though that's what comes to mind first for people, that's not actually what they're after, right? What they're after is someone to care for their investment, to do a good job, to relieve stress that they're experiencing, right? And so I think it's really important to ask the right questions that help you understand what this other person wants and what is going to move them from their current state, which is either working with another property manager or self-managing their property, right? What's going to take them from where they are now to actually making a decision. And, I think it can be, I think some people, when they think of discovery, I'm thinking of Tato. I'm sure he's, if he's here, he can edit my comments here. But you know, you want to ask the right questions of people. You don't want to dodge the questions they're asking you. But ultimately, there's two things that you're trying to do. One is you're trying to build trust because you're showing that you actually care about what they're after, right? What are the things that they want? Is this their grandmother's property who just passed away and they've inherited it and it has a ton of sentimental value to them? That person thinks about their property a lot different than an investor who is trying to accumulate wealth over a very long period of time. They're not making plans to sell the property. They don't have emotional attachment. So you have to uncover that stuff. But the other thing too that you have to uncover is whether or not this owner is a good fit for you, right? And that is a really important aspect of this. You all have horror stories of owners who their mindset around property management is actually they want a co-manager. They're not looking to hire someone to manage their property. They're looking for someone to manage their property with them. And many of you, I would think, do not want that. So asking the right questions in discovery is also going to reveal to you, okay, this person is going to really be a challenge for my operations team because they're going to nitpick every decision we make, and they're going to want a phone call every time we spend $100. That's not a good fit for the way we do business. Now, you're not necessarily going to come out and ask that question directly. Hey, are you going to call me every time every time a maintenance request comes in, right? But I'll give a good example, Brad, to make this actionable. Like, I think one thing that you're always trying to vet in a discovery conversation is the financial stability of this owner, right? So one of the questions that I love to encourage folks to ask is around rent range, right? Hey, is there a certain amount that you're looking to get for this property? If they respond with something like, "Hey, I have to get $2,200 in rent for this to make sense for me," you probably need to dig into that a little bit more, because they're going to be extremely price sensitive. They're probably not thinking about the maintenance items that can come up, right? So you're asking the right questions to find out if they're a fit for you. Jordan, great to see you. Welcome.
How's it going,
Jordan,
guys?
hello. Hey there.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Okay, yeah, good stuff, Ben. Kristen, over to you.
Yeah, I'm going to take it in a bit of a different direction here because this is fresh. I just did a coaching call on this right before this, so this is great. I think that from the top of the call, we need to show the prospects that we are leading this conversation. And so one of the things that I like to make sure that we're doing is doing like an upfront close at the very beginning of the conversation. So in that, it sounds like, hey, Ben, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. What I want to do is I want to spend the next, 10 to 15 minutes really digging into you and your situation, what you've got going on. Then we're going to discuss the rental rate. Well, I'll answer any questions you have. I'll go over pricing. And then at the end of this, it seems like we're a good fit. I'll send you over the management agreement. Does that work for you? Like, we're starting off the top of the call for the expectation that at the end of this, we're either choosing to do business together or we're not going to do business together. And it gives the owner a really good understanding of like, we're going to do this, then this, then this. And that's how I think that we start to build trust, because now automatically I'm the expert. I am in control of this conversation as much as control that we can have in a sales conversation, right? But we are leading this off with this way. And that's the way I like to start off our call. And then from there, now I can really dig in and do that discovery work that Ben was talking about, right? We can ask those questions, we can dig in, because one question that a lot of people I think ask, which is, what's your pain point? Or like, what are you really concerned about when working with a management company? It's a good question, but it's not deep enough, right? And a good example of that is people are going to say, oh, I'm really scared about evictions. And it's like, oh, okay, why, right? Like, have you had an eviction, right? Like, what's going on with that? And sometimes our instinct is then to talk about, well, we have less than a 0.01% eviction rate. Like, that should answer your question, but they're not actually concerned about the eviction. They're concerned because they don't have the money to cover the rent to go, right? If we go into that situation. And pivot here. The big thing that people are coming to my BDMs about right now is the rental rate is less than, that you're telling me is less than my mortgage. So I'm going to be in the red. And I think the worst thing that we can do right now is lie to our prospects and be like, and tell them, well, okay, well, we'll start at $3,000 a month, Brad, even though I know it's going to rent for $2,700.
Don't do it.
I cannot give you false hope. Like, I think that is the worst thing that we can do, because it puts your leasing team in such a terrible position of having to do price drops. Why not just tell them the maximum amount I can go is $2,700, but I know we can rent this property in 15 days if we go in at that price. Like, having those straight up real conversations with people, we need to not be afraid of that right now, because there are a lot of property management companies that quite honestly are blowing smoke for these owners. And they're like, yeah, we can rent it at 3,000. We can rent it at 3,500, which puts them in a terrible position. So you need to have the confidence and be brave to show up and say, no, it's 2,700. That is the best that we can do. And here's why, because I'm the expert. I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to explain to you where we're at and see if we can land on the same page. And if not, that's okay. It's fine. But I think that the best way for us to build trust right now is to be brutally honest with our customers that we're talking to, because there are so many more accidental landlords that bought their properties in 2020, 2021, when the market was at its height. Rental rates don't rise the same as mortgage prices. And I'm sorry, the market doesn't care what your mortgage is. We say that in a respectful way, right? So I think that if we're looking to build trust right now, we need to be in control of the conversation from the beginning. We need to tell people that we are the experts and show them that by being honest with them, and don't be like everybody else, guys. Like, be honest, because then they're going to go and they're going to have a red flag whenever this other company is telling them it's going to rent for $3,500 a month. They're like, Brad told me it was 27. How can you really guarantee that? Right? They're going to then have these questions as they're shopping, because I don't believe that owners just want to hear what they want to hear. I believe that they want to be told the truth. And so I think that that's right now how we build that trust.
That's good. So expectation setting, honesty, truth, being the person who tells them, exactly how it is. Jordan, do you want to jump in here at all? I noticed you pulled the mic close to your face, which means you
in anticipation.
Yeah. Well, some great thoughts and points of feedback here. This question of what should we do to build trust. I agree with what was stated previously, and I would just go back to the basics and say that starting off with running a great discovery process. So you really focused on them. What are their needs? Not jumping to what you want to talk about, what you do. You can feel when the discovery is sincere, meaning you can feel when the discovery is in service of finding out if we're a good fit and if I can actually help you, versus if it's me qualifying you. That's its own kind of vibe, like peak 21, 22, lots of demand. That qualifying energy is almost a little standoffish.
Mm-hmm.
It's neither of those. It's really genuine. Can I help? And if I think I can help, I want to help. And if I don't think I can, I'm happy to bow out. The comment that was just made about setting the rental rate, and in the comments, people are saying, people go with those companies all the time. We're in an unprecedented era of being able to show your work and how you generated these conclusions. So in the absence of that, posture, tone, confidence all goes a long way. But we can now add showing your work. How did you generate that rental rate? Was your methodology sound? Are they going to read it? Are they going to get into the weeds? No. Do they care? No. Showing your work is a proxy for you being the expert. This is all real soft. We're picking it up through the tone, inference, conversation, but the demonstrable, the quantifiable, it also helps to make those little bits of informing a conclusion that we all come to. When I go to the car mechanic and they tell me there's a giant bill, at this point I'm pretty settled. I'm in a high trust relationship, but it's because of the information that they feed me. When I'm outside of a high trust environment, it's most of the time a bunch of proxy signals. How does this feel? Can I get a second opinion? Because at the end of the day, when they tell me I need a new transmission, I cannot audit that. They can send me pictures, and the pictures give me comfort because it seems unlikely that somebody would send me pictures that come to a fake conclusion. Possible, but it seems low probability. But what I'm not doing is looking at the pictures to actually conclude that I need a new transmission, because under no circumstances am I actually going to know. Maybe not quite a direct parallel, but something similar. People are working by proxy and signals. So the degree to which you can inform and speak to those things, do it. And it's easier than ever now with, all of the tools that are available to us.
Yeah, that's really good. Really good. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to throw these poll results up because I think they're interesting. And this is kind of what I thought would happen. And this is exactly why I want to talk about it. Okay. So you said.
That's what I expected. That's what I expected.
100%.
So you said that you generally have, across the board, we have about a third of you with mostly accidental landlords, a third of you with mostly investors, and then a third of you who are in kind of a 50-50 split. And then we asked, who do you want? And 61 out of 95, 2/3 of you said, I want investors. About a third of you said accidental owners, and some of you are kind of figuring out or don't know yet. So let's talk about that. And let's talk about the difference between those and, maybe even some of the pros and cons, because I think there is I'm just going to put my cards on the table. I think that there is a general disparagement of accidental landlords in property management. And I used to run a property management company with 1,300 units and 850 owners loaded with accidental landlords. And it was a great company. There were hard parts, but it was a great company. So I have a soft spot in my heart for the third of you that are like, I want the accidental landlords, because I found a lot of times that intentional investors aren't all they are cracked up to be sometimes. But I want to debate this a bit. I would love to hear some pushback on that from any of you. Okay, so how do you identify your ideal client? How do you first identify who do you want to go after? And then how do you understand that difference between accidental landlords and investors and align that growth with your goals? So kind of working backwards from that question, what do I want? This is the best question you should ask yourself in business as an owner. What do I want out of this thing? And then Peter Lohman wrote a great article about this yesterday. And then how do I find the people who fit the criteria of the sort of company that I want? And then, who are they and how do I find them? So let's start from there. I'm working backwards from the question. So when you think about the business that you're trying to build, how do you decide which clients to work with? And Kristen, Ben, Jordan. I'm just so used to saying her name after your name.
I know. We are one.
Everybody does it. But when you talk to folks, how do you help them make this decision and make this choice about who to go after relative to the business? And I will start with you, Kristen.
Yeah, one thing that I like to dive into is actually how our processes are set up on the back end. So like post-management agreement, how are we designed as a company, right? Like how are we reaching out to people? How are we giving touches to them? Because I think that helps to indicate which owner type we should go after, right? And if they're aligned, if we're saying we want investor, but we have this high touch point system, or we have this designed in education, right? Where we're really wanting to educate owners. Our process is telling us that we should be working with accidentals and helping them become investors, right? So really looking at the way that our processes are designed after management agreement, I think tells us which types of clients that we want to be working with on the front end. So really looking back end to front end is kind of how we start that conversation there, because we know what we want, right? We want, I'm going to speak for everyone here, we want an owner that signs a management agreement and just gives us the money every time that we need something to be repaired, and they don't question us and they don't call us and we don't have to call them and we're able to deposit the money. That's great, but that's not people, right? That's not how we're really designed to operate there. And so it's taking a step back and really looking at who are we already managing really, really well. And if we were to double our client count with the same type of clients that we're working with now, would that be a good outcome? And if the answer is no, then we're working with the wrong client type and we need to pivot and kind of restructure what we're doing as a whole. I don't know if that made it more complicated or less complicated, but it's looking at who we're already working with, how our systems are set up, and would we be okay if we doubled what we already had? And if it's no, then we need to make a pivot and do something a little bit different there.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, it's an exercise I like to take people through early on in working together is sort of exactly along the lines of what Kristen just said, which is to say, who are the clients that you guys have right now that you really like working with? And oftentimes the responses actually have less to do with whether they're an investor or they're accidental, and has more to do with specific personality traits. And some of them Kristen just said, which is, does this person allow us to go do what we need to do, right? Or they ask questions, but they're thoughtful questions. They're not nitpicking or micromanaging what we're trying to do. So I think there's advantages and disadvantages to working with primarily investors or primarily accidental landlords. I actually think it's pretty healthy to have a mix, but you need to go deeper than just that level, right? And to Kristen's point, thinking about the process, the way that you serve people, right? An investor likely speaks a language that's a little bit different than someone who's accidental. And so if a good example would be like, are you a real estate investor yourself? If you are, and you have your own portfolio, I think you have a pretty powerful message and story to tell to other investors, right? And talking about your experience. One of my clients is down in Florida, and there are a lot of you with this story of, I had a large portfolio. I worked with a number of management companies in the area. I didn't have a good experience, and so I started a management company. So from a marketing perspective, that's actually, in my opinion, a pretty compelling story to tell to someone else who is trying to build wealth through real estate. So I think regardless of which direction you go, I would say you want to get as specific as possible, not just like geographic or quality of property, but personality types and ways of being, right? Getting more into the psychology side of things. I think that's ultimately how you end up with owners who you're going to enjoy working with, and they will enjoy working with you because you are set up to serve them best.
And just to add to that, one thing that I've started doing with clients on the sales side is actually developing a list of 7 to 10 criteria. And somebody has to check at least half of the boxes on there for that to be an owner that we're moving forward with. And very rarely am I putting on that list that they're an investor or they're accidental. It really is, will you be hands off? Do you have the money to fix things? What do you like? It's really just more mindset wise, because I think that it matters less if they're investor or accidental. And I think it matters more their mindset. If our company is helping people to grow wealth through real estate, it doesn't matter if they're accidental or they're investors, because you can take an accidental and you can educate them and help them become an investor, right? Like you can do that with anyone as long as the mindset and the approach is correct there. And I think that to me matters more than these two buckets of, are they accidental? Are they an investor? And more so, are you going to let us do our job? Like, do you have money? Is that financial stamina there that if an AC goes out in the middle of summer, because sometimes investors, they want 7 bids because they want the cheapest price. They don't like, a lot of times I find that with investors, whereas accidentals are like, okay, I'll pay for it, right? Investors want more bids. Investors want, to know that their ROI is happening. They want these deep conversations. And unless we're set up to talk with our investors about their IRR, their cap rate, their return on investment, their cash on cash, are you really wanting to work with investors, or do you just want people to let you do your job? right? And if we just want people to let us do our job, you're looking for a mindset, not a type here. And I think that that is worth really thinking about as we're going through and profiling people, because investors can be a pain in the rear to work with. And if you have one person who owns 80 properties and that represents 90% of your portfolio, you're walking such a tightrope, because if they leave, where's your money coming from? And that you are then pizza delivery person. Whatever this person wants, we're going to do. It doesn't matter if it's costing me my time. I'm going to go do it because I have to, right? And that's not a position that we want to be in.
Yeah, Jordan, I'll kick it over to you. I'm also gonna add this question to it, which is, and we've kind of been talking about it too, but how do you know when saying no is the right move? So your thoughts on finding the right sort of owners for your, and triangulating those with your goals, and how and when to say no to folks.
I tend to think about POV over and above ICP. POV meaning point of view. What kind of business do you want to run? The question is, are you an expert? An expert has a lot of experience, and that experience informs some level of rigidness around the idea that there actually is a right way to do this. Not all approaches are actually equivalent, or at least not for me, for what I'm doing in my market. Therefore, this is how I choose to do business. So the ICP is in light of that. The inverse of that is, I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll do it however you want it. Whatever you think, Mr. Accidental. There's a lot of that. So find, where do you really have conviction? Don't inflate it, don't overstate it, but where you have conviction, you're looking for people that are going to work within that construct. The second thing is, there is a material difference between these two things. Let's just look at pricing alone. Back to, can I help these people? If your pricing isn't set up to have some kind of an accommodation that works with investors, it's going to make it harder for you to help them. They're going to feel the squeeze more. You're going to be out of line of expectations. So asking yourself, am I really set up to help this person with their unit type, where the property is located? It's like a policy and scope of services question first. And I think the ICP kind of comes out of that. A couple other points here. What are you going to change? What are you not going to change? Are you going to change their mentality and move a accidental, somebody that inherited that property, to now getting them to buy a couple more? I don't know. Maybe. Fun idea. Love talking about it. I don't see it happening a lot in practice. People's financial situation has weight and gravity. Are you going to get them to have are you going to Dave Ramsey them and get them to have a new perspective on how they manage their money and their finances? Maybe. I wouldn't plan on building a business around that. So there's just this whole conversation of, actually, I'm an asset manager. I'm not a residential property manager. I'm an asset manager. Like, there's probably a little more depth and substance to kind of make that pivot. So that's something I think about. And then lastly, I just got to share this acronym I learned years ago from a guy named Joe Polish, and it's called ELF: easy, lucrative, and fun. Though that 3-letter acronym has served me.
Love that.
Just in general, how I want to run the business.
Yeah, that's good. That's maybe we should all adopt that for our lives, and not just our businesses. But yeah, no, that's good. Ben, Kristen, anything to add before I move us to our last section, since we're running down on time here?
I look forward to using that acronym in my day-to-day going forward. So, thank you.
Yeah, so very good. Lots of acronyms there. They're all spelled out for you in the chat. Okay, can we add ELF to our KPIs? I think that's a great idea. Yes. Okay, before we move to our last section, want to give you this opportunity. If you would like help getting clear on your ideal client, value proposition, door count target, based on your goals as a business owner, because that's really what we do at Profit Coach, is help you get the full context. What do you want out of your business? What does it take to get there? And then this specific component, what sort of doors, what sort of owners, what sort of door count, and then of course the metrics underneath that. What sort of profit per unit do you need to have in order to get to that place? I want to offer you that. If you'd like to meet with me to talk about that, you can book a financial clarity call right here. We're going to throw that in the chat. Going to throw up a poll here that you can respond to so that we can reach out to you. And if you have your phone, that's my QR code right there. It goes straight to my calendar and I have some availability in the next couple weeks. So in that call, we'll help you clarify your target client through the lens of profit and long-term value, something we care a lot about. Not just the right clients philosophically, which is really important, but the right sort of clients who are going to get you the financial results that you need to reach your goals as a business owner. Help you understand your sales structure, make sure that's supporting margin and not just volume growth. We're about to talk about that. Bring clarity to the financial implications of your sales and marketing decisions. How much am I getting for my marketing spend? Where is it going? Is it healthy? Is it unhealthy based on industry benchmarks? And then finally, walk away from that call knowing what's right in front of me. Where should I focus right now? What's the next thing for me to do? So if you'd like to do that, please feel free to book a call with me directly or respond to that poll, and we'll reach out to you afterwards to schedule. So last section here, sales. CEO, owner-driven sales, or hire a BDM or an army of BDMs, or do them both. And then how to ensure that the owner doesn't become the bottleneck in the company, because the owner can be the bottleneck in either of those circumstances. So who should own sales in a property management company? Let's go with Kristen. Who should own sales? Because you said you had some thoughts.
I got hot takes, Brad. I think that most property management companies are not ready for a BDM. I think that is a huge financial burden on a property management company. So that's my hot take right there. And I'll debate anyone on that, because that is a very expensive role that you are hiring for. And unless you have the lead generation to support that person, or you have the financial stamina to be able to cover this person for 12 to 18 months while they are generating leads, because that is how long it takes to successfully create a lead generation machine. Like, to have enough leads to feed that BDM coming in, there is no quick fix if you want them to go and do outbound. So unless you have the financial stamina to do that, or you have the lead flow coming in, a lot of times we're not ready for a BDM. Like, we may think that we are, but book your financial strategy call and Profit Coach will tell you if you're ready for a BDM or not. But I think that there are many ways to set up the sales process to where it can be an owner, it can be a property manager. I think a lot of people within the PM company can handle sales as long as the process is set up in order to be able to serve them. And that's where sometimes the CEO, whoever's in that seat, is the bottleneck, because there's a lot that goes into the sales process, right? There's the initial discovery call, there's the follow-up, there's all of these different pieces that if you're the owner and you're doing sales, which part of the process do you like the best? Is it closing? Great. And let's put you in a position to where you're closing and have help with different parts of the process and tag different people in, whether that's a remote team member, that's somebody else on your team helping with some of these other activities to put you in the position that you're best, and that would be closing, right? So I think that it depends on who you are as a CEO. If sales is not your thing, that's okay, right? The BDM may not be the answer. That may cost you a lot of money. I think that it really comes down to the process and the way that you have this set up so that you can be put in the best position to succeed. That book, Who Not How, love it, right? If you're the who of closing, you don't need to know the how of how to follow up, right? We need to find a who can follow up, who can do discovery work, who can set you up with the best position to close. And so I think that to remove yourself as the bottleneck, you have to be really realistic about your ability to handle the entire process. Maybe you only want to handle a section of it. We need to figure out somebody else to be able to come in and take a portion of that. That's my hot take there, Brad.
Mm.
Good. It's a good one, and resonated strongly in the chat. Ben or Jordan, how about for you guys? Who do you think should own sales in a PM company? How do you work that out?
I'll jump in. First of all, shout out to the other Ben Smith that's on this call in the comments.
That's not you?
Oh, no, it's not. Always good to be joined by another Ben Smith.
No, you were just in the chat. That's great. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, not me.
Okay.
There's a few of us out there. So I agree wholeheartedly with what Kristen said. I think the financial component is a big piece of it. Lead flow is a big component. I'll throw one more in there, which is if you are particularly tight about who you want to work with, right? So tying it into this conversation we had around the types of people we want to work with. One, I think if you're very particular about who you want to work with, you need to adjust your growth goals accordingly, right? Because you're going to turn away a lot of people that find you or come to you. As it relates to having a BDM, that's a particularly important factor because if you are really particular and then you bring a BDM in and they're talking to all these leads, and every time they bring one of those to the ops team or they get a contract signed and then ultimately find out that, oh, that person's not a good fit, they are going to get really frustrated and they are going to churn out because salespeople want to win deals. They want to close, they want to make commission, they're driven, they're motivated. And if you're throwing roadblocks at them saying, "Oh, sorry, that's not the type of owner that we want," or "Oh, no, sorry, we don't work in that area," right? You're putting really tight confines on them. It's going to be really difficult. And so I think just to add to everything Kristen said, that's another component of this as well. You don't want to bring if you don't want to bring in someone who's ultimately going to get frustrated. And your job as a leader, by the way, is to manage not only the sales side but the ops side too, and making sure that there's cohesion between those two groups. Because that's the other thing that's going to create a lot of frustration on both sides is if you don't have that clarity about the types of people you're wanting to work with. And operations also understands, hey, look, we need to grow. We want to grow. Growth is a good thing for our company. If that synergy, sorry to use a buzzword, doesn't exist, it's going to be really difficult. And so I tend to lean towards what Kristen said, which is in a lot of cases, I don't think it makes sense to bring in a salesperson unless you have really big growth goals, you're investing a lot into lead flow, and you're willing to let that person get out there and hunt and get after it. So,
And the way you compensate them makes such
yes.
a difference because you can incentivize them to get as many doors as possible
Yep.
if that's what your goals are, or you can incentivize them to get the 8 best, most profitable doors they can get every month if that's what your goals are. So you have to start with what do I want? What are we trying to set up? Jordan, what would you add to that?
I think with Charlie Munger that said, "Show me the incentives and I'll show you the behavior."
Mm.
Mhm.
I've been thinking about that my whole career, and it still hasn't landed for me. It's still, I'll spend the rest of my career thinking about that. I'll never fully appreciate how true that is. My thoughts here are that you can build the kind of business you want to build. You can have the kind of role that you want to have. Different owners have different temperaments and interests, and so you can insert yourself into the part of the business that you're into, and there's genuinely nothing wrong with that. But sales is no different than any other department. I do see it treated differently in some senses. I see sometimes folks put somebody in charge of it and orphan them with no direction, no oversight. And it's
Mm.
different in the sense that with maintenance, with leasing, with doing an inspection, I've done those things. I trained somebody. But with sales, I don't know. Let me hire somebody. Good luck. I'm gonna hire a coach to manage them. That's dysfunctional. You're in charge. Remember that you're in charge, and also remember that systems and all this excitement that we've had about systems, which I've been grateful to participate in, systems can be a great enabling, really useful thing. And sometimes it's kind of a low key way to avoid managing people. What's really important is to get honest with yourself. To what degree do I want to manage people? It's one of the most
Mm.
important questions you're going to ask. And honesty there will save you so much heartache and so much suffering on your team. And if the answer is you don't really want to manage people, then you don't really want to grow a big business. And you don't really want to grow a big business, that's okay. You can still make great money and have a great outcome. The mismatch is I don't want to manage people, but my ego says I need to have a big business. So I'm trying
Mm.
to do both. Implosion,
Mm.
disaster. If you really
Mhm.
enjoy managing people, lean into that. But management is its own skill set that doesn't have much to do with property management. Like it's its own skill set that absolutely transcends property management. And being honest about that is the thing I can recommend the most.
Mm.
Really good. Kristen, Ben, any yeah, any other follow-up comments on that? We're running out of time here, but I'd love to
Yeah,
hear from you guys.
I'll just double tap on what Jordan said about like the idea that okay, if I just hire a salesperson, they will grow my company, right? Like the reality is you still need to provide structure. You still need to lead that person, right? Like I have worked with plenty of salespeople who are great, like they're the lone wolf. They don't need you around. They don't need much. You just set them free and they go kill it. That is not all salespeople. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
it's not most. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people think, hey, I just got to find that rock star. Those are a lot harder to find than you think. The reality is you actually need to find a person who is motivated, who has grit, and is going to thrive in an environment where they're encouraged, coached, and given the right tools to succeed.
And my last point here is open up your mind to the possibility and enter into a what if land, because as of to this point in the industry, it's been BDM or owner of the company doing sales. And that's pretty much what we've accepted is once you get to a certain point, you need a BDM. I'm telling you that there are so many different ways to set up a sales process, to set up a sales team, that you just need to open your mind to the possibility. And it's not black or white, it's not one or the other. There is actually a lot of gray area that we can play within there, and you set up the business that works for you. And that is what I think that we all need to keep in mind is it doesn't have to be just one thing. It can be whatever you need it to be. And you're building a business for you, not what anybody else is doing. You don't have to listen to anyone else in the industry because you are able to do your own thing. And you may be the trailblazer to figure out something totally different and have that confidence in yourself to go out and do that and be different than what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. So let's wrap it there. The way I would summarize that, you guys just kind of all said something pretty similar, which is, and I'll just say this directly to everyone in the audience: you are the owner. You own the business. What do you want out of your business? What do you want to do in your business? If you love sales and you close at a 75% rate, don't hire a BDM. If you
They
hate
will never
sales,
do what you can do. Sorry.
if you're a killer operator and you hate sales and you close at a 10% rate, you might want to look at hiring a BDM. There are other considerations, but sometimes this is just really obvious. But I think what happens, and everyone on this call is a business owner. Or maybe not everyone on the call, everyone on this panel is a business owner. What happens is you get drawn into, there is a way that needs to be done. Jordan, what is the phrase that you use? What was it? You wrote an article on it a couple weeks ago. Universally.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't
I'm
know,
putting you on the spot.
universal best practice. I don't recall. Go look it up. But yeah, I wrote it.
Yeah, but it's like the universally accepted way. Like it's the only way that you can do it, and that's not true. The way that you can and should do it is the way that's most in line with you, what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we will leave it there. Next Profit Power Hour, fourth Wednesday of every month, coming at you live. That is February 25th at noon Central. We will look forward to seeing you there. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Jordan. It's been awesome to have you guys on. I hope everybody has an awesome week. See you later.